Hi guys. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to focus on certain key areas like um, business, employment, and I'm going to touch on a few life lessons here and there. So this is one of the things that I concluded, during the time that I took out to sort of figure out, hey, how do we want to position this to better serve everybody? All right. So that's what we're going to do. Today, I'm just going to talk about something that we hear a lot about. We hear people talk about how to build a great business. The primary thing that you need is a great team. All right. You need great people. Steve Jobs has said it. Um, Elon Musk has said it. Bill Gates, everybody who has done something big has said that primarily what you're going to need if you're going to do something big are a team of great people. But what you don't really hear often is what exactly it means to be great people. All right. What does it mean to be great people? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So there are three things that you need to have at the back of your mind if you are going to be a great person as regards building a great organization. And number one is the three things are vision, communication, and conversion. That is vision, communication, and conversion. So when you think about vision, one of the first things that you want to do when you get into a new space, an organization, or a team of whatever form, the first thing you want to have at the back of your mind is a clear understanding of the vision of that organization or team. What are they trying to accomplish? All right, where does this journey end? Where's the destination for this train? Okay, because the way you're going to work when you understand where the organization is going or where the team is going is completely different from the way you're going to work if you don't know and don't care. Think about it this way. If you think about it this way, you're in a bus, all right? And certain people in the bus are trying to get to a destination. Let's say they are trying to get to Lagos Island, all right? And there are people in that bus who just entered the bus because they just want to be in a bus, all right? Now, if on the way, the one of the tires of the bus gets deflated and the bus has to stop, the energy level of the people who are trying to get to Lagos Island would be completely different from the energy level of people who are just in the bus for the ride. All right. They will be more patient. They will be more, let's all relax. There's no need to rush. There's no need to try harder. There's no need to do any of these things because they are not necessarily focused on, getting anywhere. The same thing with if the bus goes a different route. All right, you can see that this bus has gone a route that isn't going to get you to Lagos Island. The people who are just in the bus for the ride won't matter to them. They probably won't even notice because they don't even have a clear picture of where the bus is going to start with. The people who would be concerned and who will be trying to reroute the bus are the people who are concerned about getting to Lagos Island. And this is what makes vision very, very important. So if you're not interested in the vision, if you're not interested in the destination of the bus, don't get on. All right. So do not get into an organization whose vision you don't care about or whose vision you are not interested in or whose vision doesn't align with your personal vision. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with the vision of an organization being, in opposites with your own vision. It just simply means that you don't want to be there. If you are there, you need to adapt that your vision into what the company or what the organization or what the team is trying to accomplish. All right. So the second thing is communication. You know, there is a stage in life where keeping quiet is a virtue. All right. But there is a place and time for it. All right. But when you're working in an organization or when you're part of a team, there is hardly a point in time where keeping quiet is a virtue. You see something going wrong, you can't keep quiet. You see something going right, you can't keep quiet. You see something you don't understand, you can't keep quiet. All right. One of the ways to know that somebody is in the wrong bus is the fact that they don't contribute. They don't contribute to conversations, they don't contribute to discussions, they don't contribute to brainstorming sessions, things like that. When they have issues executing their role, they don't communicate. It's a terrible thing, and I've seen this a lot. I've seen this a lot with people who are given an assignment or a task. They don't quite understand the task that was given, but they keep quiet. They go ahead and do whatever comes to their mind and make a mess of the task and then say, oh, I didn't quite understand it. That's one of the first signs of incompetence, your inability to communicate. So you don't understand something, you need to communicate it. It looks like the organization is not going in the direction of its vision. You need to communicate that. All right, you need to communicate that you're doing something that is giving, that is bringing in great results. You need to communicate that, hey, this thing I'm doing seems to be working. Can we expand this across board, or can we, this is how you get ahead, in an organization. All right, you have to communicate. Somebody is doing something that you think is affecting your work. You have to communicate that. So that's number two, communication. Number three is conversion. Now, conversion primarily has to do with value. It has to do with understanding the economics of your team, what drives the team. So, a simple example is if you're, I gave this example, this analogy to somebody earlier, where you are employed to make sure that a particular fan that sends that pushes air into an oven stays on. All right, so the fan has the tendency to trip off due to whatever mechanics runs the fan. It has a tendency to trip off. So your role is to make sure that that fan, when it trips off, you turn it back on. That's your role. Okay. Now you have a lot of people, you have a lot of thoughts surrounding employment, starting with the most popular, which is you're not being paid enough. All right. And that's where the economics of what you do comes in. Okay. So the first thing is you have to think about yourself as a product. Okay. Just you're thinking about yourself as a product. So when you get employed and you're being paid a monthly salary, think of it as your organization paying you for a product. And the product is supposed to do a particular thing. All right. So this product is supposed to make sure that when this fan goes off, it comes back on. That in turn would keep the oven burning, which creates the product that the organization sells, that brings in the money that circles back to pay for the products the following month. All right. Now, if you say, hey, I'm being paid 100K, it's not worth the work, right? And because of that, you use that as the basis for your incompetence in the sense that, hey, the fan goes off, you're sluggish about turning it back on. Sometimes you sleep off and the fan is off for a while. When you think about it that way, so the fan, is off, more than it's supposed to be off. The oven is not as hot as it should. The product is not as great as it should. The income is not as high as it should. And you don't get paid as high as you should. It's a how do I it's a eggs and chicken situation, all right? What makes sense is this. If you're going to say that you're not being paid enough, it has to be from a place of competence. It has to be from a place where you are delivering you're delivering results consistently and competently. The fan is on almost permanently, which means that the oven is hot permanently, the product is great permanently, the income is great permanently. At that point, you can say, hey, this company can afford to pay more than this. Hey, like what are my future prospects like? What's next? How do we move forward from here? What do I need to do next? How do we expand the company? Because expanding the company is one of the ways to raise your income. All right. Now, this is not general because there are instances where people are truly underpaid. All right. But a lot of times, particularly when you consider the country that we're in, which is Nigeria, where um, the what's it called, the standard of living is not as high as it should be. which means that things are cheaper, production is higher, the cost of doing business is higher, and people cannot afford to pay as high as, organizations would like to charge, So all of that means that ultimately low wages will be a thing. All right. Not an unfixable thing, but it has to be fixed via increased value, not somebody just blankets, not a blanket increase in payment. All right. So three things that I mentioned. Number one, the vision. Number two, communication. And number three, conversion. If you're going to be the right person for any team, any organization, or or whatever company, these three things have to be at the back of your mind: vision, communication, and conversion. I'll see you in the next video.